Us. Hello. I'm going to try a different place. You can see in the background that I've actually moved. I've come upstairs to the back balcony from underneath the garage. It's a little bit different, but the garage is literally straight down behind those rails, so it doesn't make that much difference. And the router is 2 meters that way. So at least I'll try this time. Hey, Harry, Us, Sensei Claudio, Us, Al, thanks for coming on board, guys. So I'm going to try it here today, and we'll see how we go. Just making a note because someone just asked me a question, so double check on that. Paul, wie geht's, Paul? Good to see you, man, all the way from Germany. Rochelle, thank you, Rochelle. That gesture of yours was very significant and very kind. And, I'm thinking of Rochelle's probably too humble, but Rochelle's one of my Patreon clients, and she's just, I have 3 different levels of Patreon, and most people are at the very top level, which is, I have 3 different levels of Patreon, and most people are at the very top level, which is $12. But I've got about half a dozen people who think very kindly, which is nice for me, think that that's too cheap. So they give 25, 30, and Rochelle's just bumped it up significantly. So thank you, Rochelle. It really does make a difference, and I'm looking forward to doing more and more with you. So for those who aren't Patreon members, go and check it out. And I'm so close to finishing is actually with the printers now, so I'm looking forward to that. And the Budo Karate is I'm in the very last few pages with the printers now, so I'm looking forward to that. And the Budo Karate is I'm in the very last few pages. And I've got 2 proofreaders who are reading it even as I go, and then we get that underway. So that's very exciting too. But it means there's a little bit of pressure. So there's a lot of things that I've got planned for the Patreon family, which have been put on hold for a week or 2. Please forgive me. I keep saying that. But Rochelle, thank you very much. You're very kind, and I appreciate what you've done there. Frederick, Us. Hi, Frederick from Sweden. Damien, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming. Torbjörn, Us. How are you, Torbjörn? Good morning, all the way over there in Norway. Daniel, all the way down there in Us. How are you, Torbjörn? Good morning, all the way over there in Norway. Daniel, all the way down there in Maitland. I don't know how cold it is here. We had 4 degrees last night, and it's been pretty well that all day. Us, Mike, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Still wet. We need the rain. I mean, we're really looking forward to some real soaking. Hey, Gaza, good to see you, man. And Patty, I was going to do a shout out to you today, but it's a little cold. Patty from the Kyokushin Shuffle there, about 10 or 12 plus years ago. Patty was the Australian distribution line for the Under Armour gear. And so he was very kind, gave me all kinds of good value discounts, and I wore them with pride, and I still do. And I had an Under Armour t-shirt on today, but I took it off because it's synthetic. It was a little bit too cold with the wind out the back here. And Patty, you might have heard that UFC are now, it looks like they're going to wind up the sponsorship from Reebok, and now it's come down to a battle between Nike and Under Armour. So that's very interesting. Might be a good time to get back into one of those 2. Chrissy, good to see you, man. Hope everything's going all right up there. So first of all, make sure you go and check out Patreon. Also, if you're here and you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. A double tap. We want a 2 left jabs, or a subscribe and the notification bell. And if you've already subscribed, then just hit forward and pass on the link, because that's the best thing you can do. Subscribe is great. I really love it. But what's more important to me is that we get the word out to more and more people as we go. And the other thing you can do is leave a comment. Even when you've got all this beautiful live chat stream, but when you go back and check it out, leave a comment. Really, really helps. I'm experiencing a few loops where you're repeating. I hope it doesn't develop. Yeah, me too, man. Thanks for letting me know, Mike. Raj Kumar and Namaste, all the way from Nepal. I'm getting messages from my mate Pete. I'll have to get back to him. Yeah, that could be good. If Under Armour get the gig with UFC, that could be good news for the Under Armour world. So anyway, look, today I'm a little bit confined with space, not a lot of space. Have a little bit of a stretch. I won't do the cards, but I'm going to do what I call a countdown. And I just wanted to show you how that countdown works. It's one thing that we've been doing in the dojo for a long time. At the same time, Richard Kimura, as you know, Richard is one of our members who comes along and joins in the discussion, and he's a very close friend of Shihan Bobby Lowe, and he's in Hawaii. He's just had a major operation. I believe he's still in hospital. So a shout out to Richard, and we send our love to him. Urs Savitri, good to see you. Thanks for coming on board. Okay, so today I wanted to continue talking a little bit about instruction, a little bit about kata. And you may remember that we were talking about Dokkishu. Dokkishu. I'll write it because it sounds funky. It's Rock-Ki-Shu. Okay, and that I'm going to write it on my little trusty notice board here. Okay, so I'm just going to write the characters. There we go. So it's pretty simple. The first one is the 6. The second one is ki, as in ki or kihaku or life force or chi energy or chi gung and all that. That's the ki in the middle. And the last one is shu or te, which is karate. Okay, so it literally means the 6 spirits' hands. Okay, and that can be interpreted different ways. But what the relevance to it, that the Tensho kata, he did it as, you know, the hardness of the Tensho is one thing. And I've always had a theory. I look at that and I see not all karate masters live long, healthy lives. And I would almost have a feeling, yeah, just temporary, Raj, because I've just got to sort out this internet problem. But I have a feeling that karate masters in Okinawa, as everyone knows, Okinawa has the longest lifespan of any demographic in the world. But I've got a theory that karate masters in Japan live well short of the general long life demographic. Could be wrong. Someone could do some research and let me know. What's Rud? Good to see you, man. Did you see the picture on Facebook, Rud? For the I just put a picture up saying I had 10 minutes to go before the live feed. I put that up for you. But I have a theory that I don't think the older karate masters live as long as the general population tends to in Okinawa. And that's because of my theory, could be try to tell you it's not advisable for people with blood pressure and so on, but the old masters, it's very hard to change old habits, so they're so used to doing it their whole life that they keep doing it. And I really tend to think that really hard ibuki through the kata and everything has an effect on blood pressure, my theory. But anyway, that points to why I think Chodo Miyagi developed the Tensho kata, because Tensho, I mean, Sanshin is very, very hard, very yang, okay? Tensho is very yin, okay? So they make the perfect balance. And yang, yin, hard, soft, go, ju, okay? And so it's a really nice balance. And I think one of the things that gives Goju its fantastic balance is that combination of Sanshin and Tensho. Okay, well, Kenneth, I got your message. I'll have to get on it as soon as I can. I'm so sorry. So anyway, I think that's really, really valuable. Now, he developed, it's just this series of hand tech pressure, boom, 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 like this, and they come through and they'll push up and then push and out. And it's very much, if you have a look at that terrible, terrible dissing of Chinese kung fu in Hong Kong during the Strongest Karate, where they've got that, they went over to Hong Kong and they videoed 6 different ways to use the hand, because all 6 ways have a different energy and a different concept and a different which I think is just as effective. And knife hand also, I mean tetsui. So we went through that where we're talking about shitogame uchi, and you keep following it, and you follow back like this and with the palm heel. So you got tensho there. 1, 2, 3 like that. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3 like that. In Chinese martial arts, there are many different forms similar to Sanshin, collectively known as iron shirt train. Yes, there you go. And so it's not a single kata, and nor is, that's my theory on why I don't think Rokkishu is an actual kata, because I started doing research on it, and I found almost an endless stream of different variations of these hand techniques. So my theory was that Chojo Miyagi, in his study in China, found a bunch of those and realized that the fundamental connection between them all is this Rokkishu, this concept of the different ways to use the hand. You know, you have the fist, you have the knife handle, the tetsui, you have the kake, the hooking movement, as opposed to kaki-e, which is the Okinawan version of Chinese sticking hands, which involves not just the kake, but also a lot of other things too. If you watch guys doing kaki-e, there's a lot of, they take your balance, whereas with the Okinawan kaki-e, it seems a lot more like the iron shirt's a good way to put it, because, you know, they're trying to hit each other in the chest and all this sort of thing. So kaki-e is a little bit different, but it incorporates that kake-uke. And I'm sure Mike Clark has an opinion on that, which could completely blow mine out of the water. Yeah, you could be right. There's a whole bunch of different ways, but the most of them stem from this, the fist, the knife hand, the kaki-e, the palm heel, the koken, and the spear hand. Now, the spear hand, they often say, you know, it's not realistic, but that's because when you practice it, you're practicing it to the solar plexus and so on. And if someone has spent a lot of time conditioning their hands, and I think that's a very bad thing to do, in conditioning your fingertips, I'll tell you why if I remember. But we're taught to do it at midsection. But, you know, UFC is interesting. You mentioned UFC before. UFC is interesting because they have a very narrow set of illegal techniques. And one of the illegal techniques is that, you know, it also talks about the antenna arms in advanced karate. And when the arm's out, and you watch a lot of UFC fighters, and they'll extend their arm with their fingertip them in the eyes, and it can end the fight. You know, you see them, they're boom, they get in the eye, and they're like this. And, you know, I had an incident in the fourth world tournament where I was fighting in the fourth round. On the third day of the fourth world tournament, I fought a really nice guy from Europe who was the European heavyweight champion. And I've stepped up and I've thrown a roundhouse kick, and his hand was up. His hand was there, it went bang, and his thumb went in his eye. And it really must have hurt, because he was sitting there trying to rub his eye for a long time. Then my kick, if it hit his hand and just gone like that, it wouldn't have affected him at all, because he had his blocker. And in UFC, those fingertip shots are very interesting. I've got a really cool story too. Sosa introduced me to a man named Takeda Shokan, and I've mentioned him. Instructors, he had 3 instructors. I think most of them actually trained with Mabuni Kenwa. But he said, well, I was sent to, and he mentioned a name, I'm sorry, it was 25 years ago, so I can't remember. I was sent to one particular instructor until 3rd Dan. And then when I got to 3rd Dan, he sent me to another instructor who was his senpai until 6th Dan. And he said, and when I finished 6th Dan with him, he sent me to his senpai, which took me up to 8th Dan. And so this guy, I mean, is really legit. And Sosai introduced me, and it was the funniest introduction I've ever heard in my life. On the telephone, he said, but only one person had the guts to walk up to me face to face and say, you and me right now. Well, that's this Takeda is, where the judo guys used to rule the roost, and he's the one who changed it all. He's the one who walked up and challenged the judo guys, and he told me, get up, but I've been in Seiza for 20 minutes and my legs are sore. But he stepped back as the judo guy went to grab him. I'll go this way. He stepped back, knocked the hands away, snap kicked him in the groin twice. And as the guy's eyes came forward, he went across, bang, bang, like that. And he's the one who taught me that you never do spear hand or knife hand with your fingers like that. He said you always do them with your fingers like that because the margin of error increases by a multiple. And so if you strike across the eyes like that and you just miss a little bit, it has zero effect. But if you strike across the eyes like that, the margin of error is much greater. And I'm so sorry, I don't know what to do. I'm devastated. It could be the shoe, okay? Dokkishu. We might wind it up early today. Dokkishu. I know some people love learning the kanji. So, seiken, 1. Shito, 4. Nukite, 5. And koken, 6. Okay, so they're and they're mostly, not all of them, but mostly in tensho kata. Boom. There's your kake. There's your kake. There's your palm heel. So that's 2. Block up, round. There's 3 with shote. Koken, 4. Knife hand, 5. And the spear hand. Is it still lagging? It's knocked the wind out of my sails, I tell you. It's really annoying that it's doing that. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and it brought to mind. Okay, and that should be compulsory reading for everyone who's a black belt and above, or even anyone who's aspiring to be a black. And that should be compulsory reading for everyone who's a black belt and above, or even anyone who's aspiring to be a black belt. So I'm losing people left, right, and center, right? I noticed that the numbers have dropped probably because it's lagging. I'm so sorry about that. And in that, he relates the story of when he was confronted by, almost 24 skinheads. So he'd knocked 1 out and 21 more came, and cut a long story short, he maimed 5, knocked another 8 out, and the rest ran. And I'd spoken to Nick over the years, and he said that so sorry, guys. But anyway, Nick drew on just a couple of kata when he was having street fights, and he's had plenty of street fights. I think he stopped fighting in the street because he was a bodyguard and things like that. He stopped fighting in the street when he was probably in his 30s, and he had over 2,000 encounters. But anyway, he talks about he told me about the way he approached that fight, and it brought to mind a couple of things. One is the jump we do in Pinan 3. We come down, turn around, and then we jump up people. That's a crazy concept when you think about it. But anyway, in Musashi's book, is everyone familiar with the Book of Rings? That's just one translation. If all goes well, I'm doing my own translation. But the Book of 5 Rings, Musashi has a concept in it where he talks about tacking, as in tacking in a yacht, or that's the translation, but it's like zigzagging. And Nick was saying some people work the idea of a multiple attack, and you always see this on instructionals from instructors teaching people how to deal with multiple attack, and it's always the first thing they teach is to come to the flank so that the wide group of people comes narrow. But I always had a feeling that those sort of people never really had to deal with. But anyway, Nick was saying he'd zigzag, so he'd strike, and he was using all these things: back fist here, palm heel there, tetsui there, and he's hitting and he's whacking guys and he's doing kansetsu kicks, and then he'd hit someone, and then when he'd see weakness in them, then he'd go in for the kill and knock them out, and then he'd keep going. So he never got, his mind never stopped. The flow of his mind never stopped, even as he was going. Because some people say, well, you finish one and then you finish the next, and that might work for some. But when you do that for a split second, even, your mind is frozen on that person, and that's when things. That's really good. I like that quote, and it's so true. You know, like they say, everyone's got a plan until they get hit. Well, theory is the plan, but practice is the getting hit. As I'm talking, it just depends which which translation I like. This is one thing. It's called to mingle. This is, yeah, Victor Harris. Yeah, Victor Harris. This is Victor Harris translation. But in part, strike down the enemies in one quarter, drive them back, then grasp the tiny strong points to the right and left, as if on a winding mountain path, weighing up the enemy's disposition. When you know the enemy's level, attack strongly with no trace of spirit. Okay, that's spirit. Okay, that's similar to the concept that Nick was using, where you send it onto them. How's that lag going? So anyway, that is a really interesting concept, and it's also one reason. I've just finished rewriting the section on kata and the 3 points of kata. Now I'm interested to hear Mike's point on this too. Sosa used to say, "Waza no kankyu, iki no chosei, chikara no kyojaku." So waza no kankyu is the timing technique. Iki no chosei is the points of power stress, as I interpret it. The strong and hard and soft things, and iki no chosei, the breath control. The 3 points, Sosa called them the sanyoso, the 3 key points or the 3 key elements of kata. And I've got a whole section of it in my book. But I know it's not original to him, and he never said it was. He said it was an original, it was a karate concept. So, Mike, you may even be familiar with those 3 points: the timing of technique, which means the strong and weak points of strength, and iki no chosei, which is the control of the breath. And when I was so sorry, Savitri, sorry about the lag, guys. I'll have to look into it and see if I can. I'll get onto YouTube too and see if there's something I'm doing wrong. I'm just going to quickly check my. So the Vodafone's. I'll keep going, but I'll hook it up to my. I'll see if I can.